Hey everyone, how's everyone doing? Today, don't mind my red nose. I was outside. I just took Rusty out for a walk, so I feel like my nose is super red, so don't mind that. So today we're going on to talk about transformation time with Matt. So we're gonna wait for Matt to come on. He should be on in a minute or so. Basically, what transformation time is, we talk about the guest speaker's personal development journey. So I can see that Matt's on. So let me just invite him, and then we can talk about Matt's personal development journey. Um, Let me know, Matt, if you received. Okay, yeah, there we go. Hey, oh, you're sideways though.
Is that better?
There we go. How are you doing?
Doing good. How are you doing?
Good, good. I just went out for a walk. I was saying that's why I have a red nose right now because it's freezing outside.
I feel you here too. I just ran my dog out before coming on.
Oh yeah, yeah. I didn't think about that. It's funny. I went on. I'm like, oh my God, my nose is so red. I just want to recap. So this is transformation time, and so we're going to be talking about Matt's personal development journey. So I'm so excited because I think it's a fun topic to always hear, how people get to where they are. So thanks so much for coming on. And so you want to tell us a little bit about yourself first, where you're at right now?
Sure. Well, I'm in Ottawa at the moment. I grew up in Ottawa. I'm investing in real estate in Ontario and in the East Coast. And essentially, I've grown up around, or at least adjacent to real estate most of my life. And yeah, and my name's Matt.
So let's start with what got you even interested in real estate?
Uh, Interest in real estate? Well, I grew up. My family owns um, like a camping facility up on the Quebec side. It has some cottages and a lodge and stuff like that. And so, growing up as a kid, um, I would do and then became in charge of doing the maintenance and the facility maintenance and the property maintenance at that property. Um, and then just sort of from there, going into construction, going into more like property maintenance and property management and that sort of stream of jobs and stuff. Uh, yeah, I've just always been interested in property and property related things, whether it's maintenance or repairs or renovations and all that sort of stuff.
That's
But
awesome. So you
yeah,
had that influence around you. So it's something that you kind of was like in the future, like I have to do something with real estate because obviously my parents are doing something right.
yeah, exactly. It's because I was always around it. It's kind of funny. I'm actually starting to write some pages for this group project that's a book, and it's like your journey in real estate. And so the opening paragraph or the opening phrase is talking about how when I was a kid and I'd go build forts up in the forest and stuff like that. And I'd build this big fort, and I'd be like so excited and so happy. I'd be like, oh, my friends can move into this fort in the forest. It'd be great. We have a campfire and all that. And just so even as a kid, uh, being able to provide shelter for people was always something that I was interested in. So
That's awesome. And so you've actually made some really big changes recently. So what was like a pivoting point for you to, like to with all like even you can talk about your changes because it's your story, but like what even was that pivotal point that made you even start on your path of making these current changes that are going on in your life right now?
pivotal point. The big thing would have been last year. So even before the pandemic started, um, I had purchased one property. Uh, to help a family member who had moved out to Nova Scotia, and so they're living in it, and we worked to get that property together. And then in March, right before the lockdowns, right before everything went crazy, I came across a property up near the Pembroke area, and it's about an hour away from Ottawa here. And it was a rundown house, a century-old, beautiful home that had been abandoned for 2 years. And as the pandemic started, I bought the property, and I flipped the property. And through flipping that, I did it on the weekends because I work a full-time job. So I did it on the weekends over 6 months, and kind of came to the realization that, hey, if I can do this on the weekends, and it turned out to be yeah, exactly. It turned out to be a pretty successful project. So, yeah, like I came to the realization that, hey, this is probably what I should be doing, is adding these homes back to the market and try to add some value back to the world.
100%. Yeah. And so letting everyone know you're quitting your job. You're basically in the process of like passing on delegating your work to someone else and going full time.
Yeah, exactly. So I work as a superintendent. I do maintenance and kind of help manage a bit like a high rise in Ottawa of apartment buildings. And I gave my notice. It was supposed to be for May 4th, but as things kind of progressed and life got more busy, and I was really nice. I gave pretty much like a 6-month notice. I said it was coming. Be prepared. But yeah, so today actually is my last official full-time day at the job. Now, over the month of April, I'm going back a couple days a week to help train and just kind of help out with transition and stuff. But today is actually my last day, my last official.
Yeah, that's awesome because we have to talk about that. So I was like, that's so exciting that you're going to be now going pretty much full time now into your real estate business. So talking about that, and because I feel like now you're going through, I guess, like your next level, your next ceiling of learning experience, because now this is going to be full time. So it's going to be a lot of new things for you. So what would you say is what are you working on? Like what skills do you think you're needing to work on right now to prepare yourself?
Yeah, it's going to be organization and time management, essentially, is what it's going to be. I've worked, I mean, I've worked a job as an employee for the last 6 years, right, where I am right now, and it's different when you're an employee. You don't necessarily have to have everything organized from top to bottom, a whole company structure, like everything, right? And yeah, so I'm really flexing my my ability, my organizational ability, and my time management skills. So I'm learning a lot there, and probably recognizing a key thing about being able to continue on without getting burning yourself out or anything like that is being able to recognize where your weaknesses are, try to develop them best you can, but recognize what is and isn't a weakness. So I'll probably be bringing on some help, part-time assistants or admin type help to help me. I know where my strong suits are. I know where my weaknesses are for the most part, and yeah, got to fill those weaknesses as best I can, or manage them as best I can.
That's awesome. Yeah, of course. That's always the best thing to do or even just, delegating things that maybe aren't your weakness, but it's more things that you don't really need to put your time into because you could be putting your time to better use for other things that are much more high value for you
Yeah,
too.
yeah, exactly. And that's sort of the organization or time management, right? It's um, there's a lot of data entry I could be doing as I'm acquiring new properties and managing these new properties and stuff. I could do some of that data entry or other aspects of it, but I don't necessarily have to do it all. Um,
Mm-hmm.
being able to delegate is a unique skill that not everybody has. So
100%. Or usually a lot of people are very scared to delegate. I
yeah,
notice that a lot of people are just like want to do everything themselves. But if you're gonna grow, especially like you're treating this now, you're treating this as a business. I mean, I'm sure you were before, but now it's like 100%. I need to treat this like a business because I'm building it and I need to obviously make money, right?
right. Yeah, this is the method by which I'll be putting food on my table. So now it's not that it wasn't real or serious before, but you know, now there's that extra bit of urgency,
Push.
seriousness, push. Yeah.
So what would you say then? So when you started getting into this, into real estate, what do you think were your strengths and like in your skills that gave you, made this easier for you getting into real estate?
I would say it's the my confidence in getting in and starting sort of came from essentially that lifelong exposure that I've been having to property and stuff like that. So I mean, I tried a renovation company, learned a lot there. I mean, it didn't really go anywhere, but I worked construction, like I said, maintenance, all that sort of stuff. So being able to lean on those skills of knowledge that I've been able to acquire for how buildings are put together, or how buildings should be, or what needs to be done where. That was a skill that I leaned the most on, and that's where I spent most of my time in the company was doing that hard labor because that was my skill set. Um,
Mhm.
and then also there's like management skills that I picked up from working my day job right now and stuff like that. So that also helps.
Right. Yeah. I think like a lot of people sometimes when they get into something new, they don't realize that a lot of the skills that you gain from other places, even if it's non-related or they, like not like construction or, how you were saying like construction or real estate related, but there's other like soft skills that you gain from your
Yeah,
other job can definitely, help out a lot. Which
yeah,
was
I
you
would say.
for the one that you transfer that you feel like you will be transferring over into your business now.
Well, it's not even just, yeah, I agree with that point, and it's one of the skills that I probably um, value a ton, and it's weird how transferable it's been from job to job and different projects I've done is just general customer service skill set and sort of mindset of customer service. Uh, even if you're the big boss and whatever, like customer service is the most important thing. It's not about just the front facing, it's customer service with the backside of the business too. So I actually worked in between all my other real estate related kind of jobs. I worked for Giant Tiger for like half a year, and I acquired an affinity for customer service through working for them and learning how does this big company do customer service. Um, and literally, I've carried that sort of mindset or skill. Like I see it popping up while I do things. Like this was well over a decade ago, and it keeps popping up. I'm like, oh yeah, well, keep this in mind or that sort of thing. And
Yeah,
it's
or
like,
talk
John,
to this
we're
this
totally
way.
unrelated. Like just retail, you know. Um,
Mhm.
we're
Yeah, that's a great example. It's very true because um, communication and basically building relationships is also the same. Like you don't realize, but like customer service is all that. Like knowing how to communicate with other people. If there's issues going on, being able to like mitigate and kind of like diffuse situations and making sure that like things don't get out of hand, or making sure you're maintaining your relationships, or building relationships, I think is probably one of the major things when it comes to any business. What do you think?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's key, right? I was having a conversation not too long ago with, I was talking to somebody about what I do and stuff, and they're like, "Oh yeah, the best thing to do is like, you know, maybe just yourself and one other person. If you do it all by yourself, you get to keep all that stuff." I'm like, "Yeah, but that's not, that's not maintainable or scalable or anything like that. It's all about working together as a team, and working together as a team, like with as many people and in different aspects as you can, right? So that everyone can benefit, really."
100%, yeah. And I think that becomes actually something that I just read. So that's really interesting that you're saying that, because they talk about, you have people that are dependent on people, and then you have people that are independent, and then you have people that I've started learning this word interdependent. And basically interdependent is what they say like maturing is. That fine, you can be independent, sorry. You can be an independent person and take care of yourself. But if you want to get to the next level, interdependent basically means that you're independent, like you could work independently, but with people. So it's like you start working on the we, and it's all about working together and doing we, but that being we doesn't mean like you're dependent on these people. You're very independent, but learning to work with people, and it's everything becomes we, which is it's very true. That you need to, especially like you said, if you want to scale, you want to become a bigger business, it's like, yeah, fine, you're taking a little bit, but now I have my hand in all these different things, whereas like I wouldn't if I were by myself.
Yeah. Well, and I think it kind of boils back a little bit to the being able to recognize, your weaknesses or strengths is like becoming part of it, other people's team, and other people becoming part of your team, and um, leveraging each other's experience and skills and stuff like that. You just got there's just a lot more good to be done, when everybody works together.
100%, yeah, I totally agree. And it's very nice when people start seeing that, because, yeah, a lot of, I don't know why the mentality, and maybe it's something that we've grown up with, maybe family also has it, where it's like, don't trust anyone, like everyone's out to scam you, so like if you're going to start a business, do it all on your own, and you have to do it on your own. But then when you start thinking of like corporations, and let's say a corporation, you have like how many board members, how many directors, like you have a full on huge team to make this corporation. And that's the small part, because obviously, again, building the relationships is so important. So it's like, obviously, who's gonna want to do business with you if you're like an asshole or something?
Yeah. Well, exactly. I mean, I was just thinking now, like, if you think of like a non-for-profit or something like that, just the base like structure of a non-for-profit is it's similar to like a corporate structure, and it's recognized that there are going to be multiple board members and stuff, because it's recognized that if you want to do good or do something like that, like it requires more than one person. You could fill every single one of those seats if you wanted to, but I mean, generally, for any business or entity that wants to, really do some good or do something, it's just not. There's only so many hours in a day, and only so many hats you can wear where you're not, crippling yourself.
And you're just never going to be an expert at everything. Like, fine, you may be good at a lot of things, but why not get experts in all the areas? So then it's just like, then you're like really going at it, right? Because it's just like, well, I know I have this person that can take care of this and they know this very well. And, just placing, like being smart about, who you put on your teams is also, very important too.
Well, it's exactly like in some of the jobs, I mean, like things that I find like a slog and I just don't even want to do. Like there's experts out there that like oftentimes they're experts because they will do that just for fun or something. You know what I mean?
Yeah, like
Like, why not let them? Let them have some fun and do it quicker, faster, better. And yeah,
yeah, I totally agree. So we spoke about basically your pivotal point, like basically right now, like getting into your new transition. What
yeah.
was what was your pivotal point just even starting to get into real estate? Like, was there something that was just like, I need to get into this now?
Um, I don't know if there ever was. I mean, like I said, I had a renovation company, which was like maybe 7 years, 8 years ago now. And even back then, it was like, I'm going to make this fantastic renovation company, scale it up big, and then we're going to start flipping homes, and then we're going to start doing this and this. So I feel like always, like even as like younger, as like a young adult or kid and stuff, like I've always wanted to interact with real estate, I guess. Um, So I don't think there was ever like a trigger where I was a musician and then all of a sudden I'm like, nah, real estate. That's the way to go. I always had an affinity. There's something about the realness of real estate. It's something that's built with your hands that is really tangible that I like. You
Mhm.
know, that idea of leaving a mark or providing shelter and safety, like just something about real estate that I've always enjoyed. Or it's always been appealing to me, rather.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I don't know if there's ever a trigger. It's just like something that I've always liked.
Because you've always
I've always
had it
liked it.
around you. It makes sense. You've had it
Yeah,
around you, so it's just
yeah,
always been in the back of your mind.
yeah, yeah, exactly. And it's always been like, if it wasn't owning and you know dealing in the business of real estate, generally speaking, it was like, oh, building something which is adjacent to real estate, or fixing something which is adjacent to real estate. Yeah,
Mhm.
I just like
So,
houses and land.
like, I just want
I like a house
notes.
and land. Yeah, like wood.
That's hilarious. So you said that you had a renovation business, or you were starting to try to get this renovation business, and then it
Yeah.
didn't go very far. So what would you say were your like greatest learning experiences from that? That because I'm sure you had many to help
Yeah.
you now, get to where you are now.
Um, some of it was, well, like lots. So it was a very educational experience, like overall, like as a growing up experience of mine. Um, I would say that some of the most benefiting aspects of it, where I learned something, probably time management, which still working on, I guess. Um, the idea of learning to delegate, um, the idea of being able to do some critical thinking to recognize where my weaknesses are, what I can and can't do, um, and just making sure that I'm not over promising on anything. Like that, being a good steward of either other people's time or other people's money or other people's um, expectations.
Mhm.
Yeah, all those things.
And so with it, because it must have been like it must have been very hard for it to like not go anywhere. And
Yeah.
did that kind of hinder you getting this now where you are now? Or, did that kind of like shake your confidence?
Absolutely. Absolutely. It made me terrified of any sort of debt. It like it made me terrified of uh, of becoming in debt and not having options, or like just like I felt really defeated, I would say, after that. I got the job I have now. I just sort of hunkered down and didn't really try to do much like business wise or anything like that. So I was like, no, it's too much. Like I can't deal with it. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
so I just hunkered down, paid back all the fun debt that I incurred, and then just sort of took some time to reevaluate what I wanted to do, and I like did some learning, lots of learning, um, and and then I kind of started narrowing it down to the path that I'm on now. So
And so, like, for example, you said you were scared of debt, like that made you scared of debt. So, what did you do to help you get over the fears of, let's say, the same problems happening again, or just like even, being able to start and not having that kind of worry you so much?
part of it was education. Like I feel like I have a very like kind of logical viewpoint of analysis of when I look at people's arguments or how they do things. I'll try to be logical about it. And so, as you go through your sort of education journey into finances and finances and investments, and then I ended up at real estate. Um, you learn that debt isn't necessarily bad. There's good debt, bad debt. And I had to do learning because I had so much debt that I had to pay off originally. I was like, man, I gotta like figure this crap out. So through learning through that, I was able to, assuage my fears and become more comfortable with what is good, what is bad debt, how to use debt as a tool if it's I think I had this sort of mindset change where I started viewing money, like just money in general, income that I get from a job, like all money as a tool. Um, so, before it was just like, I don't know, I don't know what opinion I had of money, but um, now it's a tool to me. So it's the same as my hammer, the same as my car is a tool. Um, Money's just a tool, and it's how you use that tool, um, whether you're being effective with it or not. So
Mm-hmm.
I think that was the big thing, was the mindset change that I had of viewing money as a tool.
Mm-hmm. And was it through the debt that made you realize that it was a tool, or was it like learning more about real estate, or just even just in finance in general? Like, what made you realize that it's a tool?
Um, I would say just through, you know, research, like internet research, lots of
Like your
YouTube, yeah,
research, if you can call it
research,
that.
beakers and stuff. No, it was like just getting lots of opinions, people that have, at least some sort of like financial background or authority on the subject. Um, just getting a lot of opinion and a lot of like good opinion, expert opinion. Um, and I'm not sure exactly what it was, but it was. I started to see as I was trying to do the hustle to pay down my debt, where I saw money. Maybe it was like a possession before. It was just something like whatever, just something I could use frivolously. So anyway, as I was trying to do the hustle to pay down my debt, it I started to recognize it more as a tool. Um, you know, this works. It works better this way than it does this way. And there's systems to it, and there's strategies, and then it's like, okay, it becomes a tool more than it just becomes I don't know, nothing. Nothing can.
Just getting a good understanding of money, basically. So,
Yeah,
I mean, so your debt, I would say, was, even though you went through it, it probably was like a great learning experience for you. Even just like, or in general, like the business and getting into debt and everything was probably a really good learning experience that probably also helped you, like once you went through it, probably advance faster too, just because now it's like, okay, I shouldn't make these kind of mistakes again.
yeah. Well, exactly. I mean, you like everybody likes to say. I mean, you learn so much through your mistakes and your failures, um, because there's 1,000 ways to do something right, but as you start doing it the wrong way, it really it just teaches you a lot faster. you know,
It,
once you
it,
know how not to do it, then you can start to narrow down how to do it and how to do it the way you want to.
Mhm. Yeah, and because they always say like that when something bad happens, you seem to remember those kind of things a lot more than the good ones. I feel like the good ones, they're there for the day, you're good after like the bad ones like really hit home, you're just
Yeah.
like, I never want to feel that again.
Yeah, absolutely. The stressful times at yeah, stressful times definitely make more of an impact.
And in the business, I think you had partners, right? Or was it you?
um, I was working with some friends and family and stuff. Yeah.
And so what about for that in that aspect? How was like, did that teach you, let's say about like relationship building or like communication and things like that? Did you have some like in that area learning experiences?
Yeah, I did. There's communication's important. Like just because someone might be a friend of yours or a family member of yours doesn't mean that you know um, you're going to be on the same page right away. You might have the same vague idea, but if you're not able to communicate between everybody, um, and you're not on the same page, I mean, then it just creates problems. So, um, and it's like it was a group effort of either miscommunication or misunderstanding or
Or
uh,
just the mistakes of not really knowing how to run a business and you
yeah,
just kind of
yeah,
go in and then you realize, because I feel like that happens a lot where when it's the first time running a business, you're just kind of like, either, oh, I get along with you, or you have a skill that I don't have, but you don't realize the purpose, right, is not like the same for everyone. Because I feel like sometimes when you get into starting a business, you kind of just are like, yeah, let's do it. Like everyone just do it and we just do it. But then as you start going, like you start realizing, like obviously we all have different minds. And then because you don't really know how to start a business, you're just like, let's do it. I don't think people want like really like learn so much into it until like you're in it and you're like, oh my God, now we need to learn because clearly it's not that easy to
yeah.
just start a corporation and work together.
Yeah, well, exactly. And I mean, there's something to be said about not knowing what you don't know. And, but even further than that, I mean, if you're going to start a business and you just want to start a business for the experience of owning a business, maybe don't start a business in renovations, which is like a high, high barrier to entry sort of, industry. And, there's a lot of hustle, a lot of cutthroat like attitude you kind of have to have sometimes in renovations and contracting and stuff. Um, yeah, so I felt like I was just like trying to hustle to keep pace and like figure things out on the fly, but I didn't take enough time to work on the business aspect of it. It's not necessarily a slow paced kind of business.
Yeah, I think a lot of people actually don't realize, like you kind of jump in. Actually, I don't know. Have you read the E-Myth?
The what, sir?
The E-Myth. There's a book called the E-Myth, and it's really interesting because they talk about how basically, for example, like in the book they specifically talk about, for example, like oh, I know how to do renovations.
Yeah.
Let's say, for example, like I know how to tile floors, so I'm going to start a business for tiling floors. But you don't realize that that's just like you know how to tile floors, but that doesn't mean you know anything about a business.
Yeah.
And then we say like basically a lot of businesses fail because you know, you don't realize like what a business encompasses. It's just not like one thing, like, oh, I'm a business person, so I know how to run a business. Oh, I have a skill, so I know how to run a business. Like, you have to have many things to actually make sure that business moves forward.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, you can know how to lay tile, sure, but you also know how to interact with taxes and the government and corporate structure, or if that's the case. And you have to know how to deal with, like, you know,
Customers have
customers,
people
customer
skills. Like,
service.
if you don't have people skills, how are you going to get people to come to you and give
Oh,
you work?
exactly. Yeah, yeah. I found out that my sales skills are really, really crap. That's that's what I found out during trying to start up a construction. You know, maybe one-on-one with some, some customers. I could, I was a good salesman kind of thing, but like at scale, like, yeah, I don't got any game. Um, that's what I found. That was one of my lessons.
That's funny. Yeah, I know I have. When it comes to sales, same thing. I don't have. But for example, like my husband, he's like amazing at it. He has like very good people skills. For me, I'm the same as you. I'm just like, oh yeah, this is complicated.
Start talking a lot, mumbling on, going like, and people are like, what is going on? I don't know. Your guess is as good as mine. I'm trying to do something.
Like I think I was trying to make a sale, but clearly it's not happening.
I got distracted in my own thoughts and kept writing.
That's hilarious. Oh, so I guess so then I guess for you that was one of your things that probably one of your major learning that
Yeah,
that you don't want to be a salesperson.
yeah, sales isn't quite for me, which is, ironic because there's a lot of that going on in real estate, on all sides of it, but, still learning.
Well, I think it's also I think to be honest, even just sales itself is kind of changing now. You know,
Yeah,
like just even the way like because it's like the way you negotiate, the way you communicate. Like, I feel like when you have the passion for it and understand it very well, and it's something that you really, really love, you don't even have to sell because you, like, I mean, you don't have to try to sell because you just have that passion and you talk about it, and it's like you're selling without even trying.
yeah,
You know, like, I think that's also what happens because yeah, I feel like sometimes like certain things will happen. I'm like, wow, I did not know I was good at that. But then someone will say, for example, oh, you like, wow, you have so much passion for this, or you want to do this. Like, I even want to start doing it. I'm like, really? That's good.
yeah, yeah. I mean, and maybe I guess in real estate more than other places, but you're almost like, you know, if a lot of times you kind of become the product more than because it's your knowledge and experience or whatever, as opposed to, the house or whatever it is. Yeah, it's a people oriented. It's real estate. It's all about houses and land and everything. But no, it's not really. It's a people orientated business. It's
Yeah.
about people and tenants and landlords and investors and partners and whatever, right? So it's really a people orientated business.
Yeah. Yeah, very true. And so for you, but so then how do you consider, but I guess it is, yeah, you consider it differently. Like for me, I've started to be honest, to me, everything has started meshing together. Like now I used to think, for example, sales is something different, negotiation is something different. Whereas like now everything really, it's all about communication. And
Yeah,
to me, it doesn't matter what it is. It's more like I have so much focus is on like communication because like in sales, you have to build relationships to make the sale. Like people have to feel comfortable with you. You have to have the trust. I feel like that's like the same in anything you do, where it's like if you're good at your communication skills,
yeah,
then I feel like that's usually what it is that kind of will stop you.
Yeah, yeah, I would say so. And it maybe that boils back to it being a people business. Like it's all about interactions between people. If you're not good at communicating, you're not good at having that, then I mean, and that's probably where I lack the most in my sales ability is communication. Because I mean, it's all just one and the same. You know,
Hmm. Yeah,
it's all
that's so
about talking.
interesting. What was the last thing
It's
you
all
said?
about talking. It's all about
It
communicating.
is worth talking. Yeah, it is. You don't realize how much it is. And, but I think your passion for it, like even if you're not very good at it, your passion for it, I feel like makes you want to improve
Yeah.
yourself a lot. Do you feel like
Well,
that's happened with you?
yeah, yeah, it has. I mean, I'm not necessarily one to do a live call with someone, but I love real estate, and I have a passion and an idea of what I want to do and accomplish, and so I put myself out there and test my communication skills and my ability to talk with others and it's a muscle, so the more I do it, hopefully the better I get at it. And yeah,
100%. Is this your first live?
I did one. I've done one other one where I was talking about one of my deals, sort of a question and answer type of thing.
Oh,
uh,
okay.
yeah,
And how was it? Was it very nerve-wracking or you're
it
okay
was
with
a
it?
little bit nerve-wracking, but at least I was able to have a conversation on a little more of a defined topic that like I knew about, right? So like it was a good way to do my first live, I guess, because I was able to be comfortable and just kind of stick to my bullet points about the property. So
That's awesome.
yeah,
Yeah, definitely pushing yourself is a great like learning experience. And I feel like if you're getting into entrepreneurship, like if you want to continue to keep growing, I feel like you're always gonna have to keep on learning.
yeah. Well, and it's funny. So like it's not until recently the more I kind of see. The closer I was getting to stepping away from my job and pursuing things full time, really like pursuing my passion full time. Um, I was kind of I've been doing more and more, right, and stretching myself more and more uh, in my passion, and I was able to. I was invited to talk on someone's as like a guest speaker for someone's sort of course that they were doing about renovations and stuff like that. And it wasn't until then where he had recorded it. I was like, oh, I should watch myself back and see how badly I did. And like, I was like, can I get a copy? I want to cringe while I watch it. And so I watched it, and like, sure, it was a bit cringeworthy because no one likes to listen to themselves talk. But I was like, wow, that sounded convincing. And so it's like I think like I could sense myself more and more just kind of finding my voice as I jump more and more into my passion. Just being able to find my voice to just speak about my passion, So it's kind of nice. I didn't really
I
see
know
that
what you
happening,
mean.
but it's nice.
And I know what you mean, watching yourself. I don't like watching myself, but sometimes it's like the same thing. You feel like, if I want to improve myself, I guess I have to watch myself. And you're just
Yeah,
like watching yourself. It's kind of like the very first time. I remember the first time I was like watching myself to try to critique myself. I
yeah,
felt so embarrassed watching myself. I was like, oh my God.
yeah, yeah. I'm like watching it, and it's not like right now we're doing a live. Sure, I can see myself, and if I can like see myself starting to ramble, I could like shut myself up or something. If you rewatch it and you're talking with someone, you start to ramble. You're like, oh no, shut up, shut up. Oh, you're going
You're like,
on.
don't do it. Don't do it.
Can't
Oh,
stop
you're
it.
doing it.
Yeah,
That's hilarious. I know it's so weird to watch yourself.
like,
But at
oh,
the same time, like that, you're like, you have to, because it's just like, how do I improve? if I don't, like if at least someone gives me a critique, or although same thing, like I think I'd be embarrassed if they're watching it and telling me, I'm like, yeah, I know it's pretty bad, right?
I don't think I'm at that point where it's like, okay, watch it, tell me what's wrong. I don't know if I can handle that right now, but we'll we'll see.
Yeah, exactly.
I'll be my own critique for right now, but we'll open it
Um,
up for
let me do like the obvious mistakes first. Let me take care of those myself, and then once I can't get it, like see my own mistakes, I'm like then I feel okay enough that another person can criticize me.
yeah, yeah, exactly.
That's so funny. So have you started? So now that you've retired
Yeah.
from the 9 to 5 and you're going full on into your business, have you started like you wanted to plan, like planning out your next like 5 to 10 years? Like what are you envisioning for yourself?
Yeah. So I don't know if I've gone, 10 years out. I find that I'm a person that um I do like to plan, but I like to also be at least somewhat fluid with my plans because I realize that, things don't always,
Change.
yeah, things change, right? And I don't like to stick to a specific plan if, as more information comes in, turns out, I'm not that stubborn. I'm stubborn, but I'm not that stubborn. So, um, yeah, I've been planning out sort of some vague things or goals that I want to achieve over the next year or 2 years, and a bit of a narrowing down, a bit of a direction that I kind of want to go. Um, right now, I kind of have like three different businesses, essentially, kind of like, or like three different areas I've been kind of doing in real estate. Excuse me, and so trying to kind of figure out where most of my attention is needed, or being able to kind of merge them together, uh, is kind of what I've been trying to plan.
Are you
Yeah.
gonna tell me some of your goals?
Okay. Okay. So arbitrarily, I've decided to put a goalpost of 100 units, sort of under control. So whether it's because I'm working with partners, so I don't own 100% of 100 units, but at least maybe controlling ownership of them. So that's just an arbitrary number. Kind of worked through like what kind of numbers started to make me uncomfortable. So if you were to put $100,000 value on each unit, you start hitting a million, then you start hitting 10 million, and then you're like, okay, at what point in 1 year do I start to get uncomfortable? Let's make that
Mhm.
the goal and see if we can get there. So that's sort of been in a 1 year time span. Uh, I have other sort of ideas or projects of ways I want to go. I've noticed I'm not a huge fan of like wasting, like of waste in general, I guess, in the sense that if you have like an old retired school or an old retired commercial building or church or something like that, um, or even like old retired homes that are, century old homes that can be brought back to the market and they're all in rough shape and they can provide quality homes for people or quality housing for people. Um, so I don't like that being all torn down and just thrown away. I mean, people spent their 9 to 5, 50, 60, 100 years ago laying that brick and putting up that wood wall and effort went into building these buildings. And if they're in good shape and if it makes sense, then why not put that effort to good use? Um, so I'm kind of seeing or exploring some opportunities to maybe do some conversions of properties. Um, I like flipping houses, but I like if I really could just like flip century-old homes, single-family homes, as like at least part of the business and manage that, while doing some like conversions of commercial old schools or churches and then creating affordable living apartment buildings or something like that. Pursue that as well. So I don't know, something like that. It's not real solid plan, but and
No, but
areas
you
that I want to
start
look into.
somewhere, and I'm
Yeah,
sure in a few years you'll start refining, and then because like that you're just starting basically like to do full time. So it's like even knowing your capabilities of like
right.
how big you can go is even like just a wonder right now for you, you know. And it's always like shoot for the stars, and if
Yeah.
and at least if you get to the moon, then great.
Yeah,
Better
so
than
I'm starting
you
to
know.
do some case studies on, I'm picking up some small apartment buildings and working my way up, doing a case study on like a school that could go into like a 40 or 50 apartments or something like that, um, and just stretching my abilities now and my knowledge and seeing where I lack and seeing what kind of people could fill that. Um, that's where I'm going towards. Just always kind of stretching it and seeing who needs to fill what area of knowledge that I don't have, and how to put that together. You know.
That's awesome. Thank you so much for coming on. It was so awesome to talk
No
with you
problem.
and get to learn about your personal development journey.
Yeah. Well, thank you for having me. It was fantastic being on, and I always enjoy a good conversation. So
100%. And thanks everyone for coming on. Thank you.
thank you.
And we'll see everyone in the next episode. Bye, everyone.
Bye.